Hello, my name is Arkila Covington. I am a licensed and marriage family therapist. I have the privilege of working with families and individuals in three areas of their lives in their relationships: their relationship with themselves, their relationship with others, and their relationship in their vocation or school, or pretty much dealing with the public. And today I am going to talk about the civil war that goes on between or within oneself. This topic is very near and dear to my heart because I noticed that this was something that I needed for me in order to be an effective service provider so that I was able to navigate and deal with some of the internal conflicts that I myself go through. And then it also helped me go the grace of being able to sit and listen to individuals, both in my family. For starting at verse 1 says, "What causes fights and quarrels among? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You desire but do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." And so that is easy to say, oh, well, I was quarreling with someone else. In all actuality, we can look at it with a quarrel within ourselves. And so, like I said, the name of this webinar is Identity Theft: Who You Are versus Who You Were, Managing Internal Conflicts. And so we start with, what are some of the things that you say when you talk to yourself? Do you tell yourself you're stupid, you're overrated, you'll always be like this, you go kicking and screaming? Like, what are some of the things you say? You're awesome, you're amazing, you're uplifting, you're encouraging, you're a child of God. What is it that you say to yourself? What is it that you say when you talk to yourself? And a lot of the internal dialogue comes from what we hear from other people. And we, in essence, allow other individuals to hijack our self image. And a lot of times they don't hijack it because we give it away when we give too much power to another individual over who we are. You know, we can look at, okay, who we were, and as we start looking at who were we before, right? And as I look at my life and I look at the things that I used to do and I try and compare them to who I am now and who I will be in the future, they don't add up. And so it causes what we call a dissonance. If I'm going out looking for ways to change and be different and reach my goals and dreams, and at the same time hold on to what I used to be, they just won't add up. And one of the things I used to be was unmotivated, undisciplined, and unfocused. And I don't really believe that's true about myself because I've always been focused. I've always been disciplined. I've always gone after what I wanted. The difference is I went after the wrong things. What I want now is different from what I wanted then. So I have to let go of any of the preconceived notions of, oh, yeah, I have to be like this, or maybe if I do this the same way. And I'll give you an example. One example is about losing weight. A long time ago, I naturally stayed in shape. There was nothing that I had to do. I didn't have to work extra hard. I ate whatever I want to, and the weight just stayed off. And a lot of that was I wasn't inundated with the stresses of having a sedentary lifestyle, of sitting at a computer all day. I wasn't inundated with the life stressors that goes along. I wasn't inundated with the loss of relationships, whether they be to death or some other reason. All of those things, and then I wasn't inundated with paying bills or living from place to place. Like, all of these things play into part. And so that same person I was, the experience no longer justifies me behaving the same way, because who I was a very long time ago and who I am are very different because of the experiences that I've recently had. And that's the same thing with you. Like, you want to hold on to who you are because it's comfortable and familiar, and you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to disappoint other people. And the thing is, you're going to have to disappoint some people. You're going to have to let some things go, because in order for you to grow, you have to let it go so that you can move forward. And if you don't, you'll be stuck. And then there's this process where you go along, you're steadily trying to reinvent yourself. You're steadily trying to add these new things to yourself, and you're steady trying to find yourself, and you're trying to navigate through this life by yourself, but you're continually to do the same thing. You don't have to do that. You don't. There is no way you can ever change somebody's opinion of you. That's going to come from them. But you can change your opinion about yourself. Yes, tragedy happened. You've experienced some things that were hurtful and harmful. You've had setbacks. You've had disappointments. And on the flip side, you've also had joy. You've also had exhilaration. You've also had support. You've also reached your goals. You have all those, and it's a balancing act. But when you continue to fight within yourself, that slows your progress, and you're going to stay stuck. So, my advice to you is to let it go. And that seems easier said than done, because in essence it is. It's easier to say let it go when you've developed an emotional attachment to something. But the longer you hold on to it, the longer it's going to take for you to go through the grieving process and get on with it. So, whatever image you have about yourself, about who you think you were, take that image and look at it dead in the face and say, I no longer choose to live like this. Because when you need permission from someone else to change, you're going to always have these internal conflicts. And it's even harder if you've had trauma in your life. If you were sexually abused as a youth, if you were neglected as a youth, those are things that have a date on it. And if those things occur to you and you're not willing to allow God Most High to bring people into your life so that He can help you through that process, that's not a process that you can get through by yourself. So if you've had that type of trauma, and you've done some of the initial work, open up your heart to allow the Most High to come in and take residency. And when He takes residency, He will bring people, scripture, experiences in so that you can get through it. Because if you keep holding on to something or someone that does not want to be a part of the healing process, then they're not supposed to be there. Allow God in His wisdom to help you through this process. Because when you're looking at who you were versus who you are, you're going to look at yourself through a victim's lens. You're going to see yourself as a victim. And there's a difference between being a victim and being victimized. Being a victim means you don't take responsibility for your life and you allow the incident of the past to have full control of what goes on in the future. But when you've been victimized, you don't dismiss the event that occurred. You realize that it was part of your story. And you have an opportunity to change that. And you have to wake up and ask yourself on a daily basis, do I still want to be affiliated with this trauma history? Do I want to be a victim? Do I want to continue to hold on to things and people that aren't getting me closer to my goals? And it sounds crass, but the bottom line is, if you don't, you're going to be stuck in this cycle. And the conflict will continue. And although you're doing all of these things to try and develop yourself, to try and grow yourself, no matter what facade you put on, it's all like clanging cymbals. You're just for show. So what are you going to do? Think about it. Think about it. You have a self-image that's based on brokenness. Brokenness because it wasn't the life that was designed for you, but it happened. And you're holding on to it. You're holding on to the name calls. You're holding on to false prophecies. You're holding on to someone else's narrative about you. And it's not in alignment with what God says about you. It's not in alignment with where you're going. So you're going to have to make some decisions. You're going to have to make some hard choices. Because if you continue to be influenced by what others have said about you, by the situations you've encountered, by the situations you've placed yourself in, if you continue to allow that to define you, you're going to always be a were. You're not going to be present in your own life because you're holding on to what was taken away. Whether it was the loss of innocence, whether it was a loss of relationship, whether it was a loss of self-confidence, whether it was a loss of job. You're holding on to those things. And you're going to be a has-been, a were. Is that what you want for yourself? Is that the life you want for yourself? Because if that is, then you have it. You have everything you want. But you can't win the battle over self. You can't win it as a were, as a has been. You have to be an are. You have to be present in your own life. You have to focus on those things that were talked about in Philippians 4:8. You have to. This is a very personal conversation for me. Because although I know these things, I continue to hold on to what used to define me. And in some sense, make things up. Like we create this narrative based on what we want. And even when it's not working, we continue with the narrative because we think it's the least harmful thing. We come up with these stories. We change pieces of ourselves. We compromise. We let things go that we should call out, all in the sake of remaining the same. Remaining the same isn't our job. We should never remain the same. God is the only one that is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And it works because He's God. And when we try and usurp the position of God by staying in the same place, we hurt ourselves. We think that we should stay the same. We think that that's our goal. Sameness isn't our goal. A renewing of the mind, transformation. That's our goal. But the conflict comes when we try and hold on to something that doesn't let us grow. That's where the conflict comes from. That's where it is. And if we know that, why do we continue? It's crazy when you think about it. Because when it comes to technology, we always want to upgrade. It's fine to upgrade technology. It's fine to upgrade your lifestyle. It's fine to upgrade your car, your apartment, your house. But when it comes to upgrading your thought process, there are so many elements. There are so many things that pull us, yank at us, tell us no, it's scary, don't do it. And we listen. God did not give us the spirit of fear. But we lean on it. We use it as a crutch. We've been taught and socialized into placing the opinions of other people over what we know to be intrinsically true. We've been taught to have a distorted view of reality. If you sit back and look at things as they are, you'll be able to tell that something ain't right. You'll be able to tell because it's not natural. unhealthy relationships. It's unhealthy to stay in environments that are oppressive. Those things are unnatural. And it goes against the grain. It goes against everything we know to be true. Everything. And so, if you're holding on to something that's just not worked out, it's going to keep your self image in the past. And you're not going to be able to accurately assess who you are. You're not going to know yourself because you're living under this fake reality. It's not until you do the natural thing and take the risk that you want to take and take the steps that you want to take and stop waiting on situations and people to be right before you decide to act. Do it anyway. Do what comes natural anyway. Change is the most natural thing in the world. You know why you're so hurt when things aren't going well? Because you're trying to maintain the status quo of something that should not be. It shouldn't be. But you're holding on to it when you can let it go. It's just not worth it. If you know that you're suppressing who you are and what you were designed to do, you are a was and a has been. The minute you start taking steps toward what you want out of life, you are present in your life. And you can take the initiative to take ownership of your life right now. Just make the decision not to be held back by anything or anyone. I hope this was helpful. I hope that this has made you think some. I hope that you decide not to be a has-been and not to chase things just to maintain the status quo, but that you'll do something big in your life. And big doesn't have to be gigantic. Big could be taking the next step, whatever you have to do it. And don't look back. Because if you do, you're going to reignite the civil war that's in you. Like I stated when I started this is very important to me. I'm Marquila Covington, work in progress, licensed marriage and family therapist, and a supporter of individuals and families. Have a good day. Thank you for tuning in.